it's great that you want to help them out, but I think one thing you need to make sure of is that you're okay financially. Because emergencies for you could be a medical bill, it could be you have to change tires. If let's say something really happens to your car, you need to buy a new car. I think whatever your parents need, there is or there are alternatives to it. In the worst case scenario, I would help you out, but I need you to also help yourself out. What's up, guys? I am Emir with the Money Goal Podcast, and today I have Anis with me. Hi! Anis, I heard you're in a bit of a pickle thinking about your parents and their finances. So, why don't you talk a bit more about that?
I see. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I guess straight to the point, obviously, being the oldest daughter, it is, I guess, in kind of a sense, I feel a bit more responsibility to my parents, even at like the ripe age of in my late 20s. But recently, my dad is about to retire. And unfortunately, in the past like 10 years, he has been having a lot of health issues. And because of that, once he retires, he doesn't have like his health insurance anymore, right? So it got to a point to me like, I look at my savings and I look at my parents and I'm like, I don't think I can be able to help them.
Support them after retirement, right?
Yeah, I feel it's like it's getting a little bit, like kanchiong. I'm a little bit scared for that. Obviously, my mother is still around. She's also working. And also, again, I'm like, she can't be alone to like, support my dad after this. So I'm just thinking like, is there any way for me to start now, or is it too late or something for me to kind of support my parents with however I can, like financially, once my dad retires,
Okay. That's a very good thought process, I guess, being responsible and stuff. I have an older sister, so I guess I'll let her worry about this.
I'm the older sister here.
Yeah, I think before we even get to the finances, or I mean what you can do and stuff like that, it's great that you want to help them out, but I think one thing you need to make sure of is that you're okay financially, right? So before even worrying about other people, of course we want the best for, our parents, our siblings, our friends, relatives, whoever it is, right? But you need to make sure that you are okay first. So I think we need to just, make sure that that's there. But okay. So with your dad, so right now he has his company's health insurance, right? Which is, so you're worried that once he stops working, he wouldn't get insured anymore.
Yes. So basically, what I understand from his company is that, well, some companies have like a relatively very robust, like even like after retirement, some form of that money will, go into his retirement. But unfortunately for my dad, that's not the case, which is why I'm a little bit more concerned.
Okay. But you said your mom is still going to continue working?
Yes, she has relatively they are of like the
similar age.
Yeah, but my dad is going on an early retirement because of his health.
I see. Yeah. Okay. I think first thing they can consider is, I'm not sure if your mom's company would have this, but I think most companies would do health insurance for your spouse as well. Yeah, for your spouse and kids, right? Direct family. So I think that could be something to consider just, for as long as your mom works, at least your dad is still covered. Right? Yeah.
That sounds great. I'm pretty sure my mom has
Should
that.
be.
But again, like she probably only has like another 5 years.
Yeah, so you still need to prepare for after that, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Would you say that is actually a good time for, like I guess for me to start and build something for my dad, and maybe along the way of like my mom as well?
Okay, so with when it comes to finances, I always think the best time to start was yesterday, but the next best time is today. So I mean, we are here today, right? So there's no point talking about I should have started 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I think today is always a good time to start, right? So okay, when it comes to healthcare, you can start saving for your parents. So I think what you can do is set up something called a sinking fund. So this is sort of a separate pool of money that you're setting aside for any potential medical needs that your parents will need down the line. So let's say you say, okay, every month I'm going to get 7,000 ringgit salary, example, and I'm going to put in 1,000 ringgit every month to put towards my my parents' medical needs, right? So whether you have a goal in mind or not, I think if you have a goal, then you can just backwards calculate to see, if you can achieve it or not. But I think at this point, 5 years to go, you can just do as much as you can. As much as you can. And like I said, you don't want to do it to the point that you're sacrificing your own situation. Right? A lot of people, a lot of Malaysians are in what we call a sandwich generation. Have you heard of that?
A sandwich?
A sandwich generation.
Okay.
Like you're literally a sandwich.
What is that?
So a sandwich generation is a bit of an unfortunate situation where we are sandwiched by cost of our parents and our kids as well. So we are the in-between. And this is something that countries like South Africa as well, they're having problems with it. People don't want to have kids because they are sandwiched, right? So you have your own expenses. Of course, you still want to eat, you still want to enjoy life, right? But then, you have kids, obviously you need to take care of them, and then you have parents as well.
Yes.
So this is a tricky thing. Like I said, you can save as much as possible for your parents, but at the same time, you still need to think about yourself. Because I think that's just like I said, one thing that we just want to make sure that that's clear. For your parents, like I said, just put it aside into a sinking fund, and then see how much you can save after 5 years, and then let them have it there. Right? This is for them. Okay.
I see. I just have a question. Like, would a sinking fund actually be different? For example, like an emergency savings. Would that be separate, like completely separate from my own? Like, like I have like my savings, and then I have a little bit of like just in case if I make a car breakdown or like again for health issues. Would the sinking fund, for example, for my parents, be separate from that?
Okay, I would do it separate. Yeah, I would do it separate because I would say your emergency funds are really for your emergencies, and this is something that I think everyone needs. You have to have it. Right? Because emergencies for you could be a medical bill, it could be you have to change tires. If let's say something really happens to your car, you need to buy a new car. So you don't really want to touch this money for anything that your parent might need. Because, I think now we need to get a bit towards that side. Because I think whatever your parents need, there are alternatives to it. Right? So for example, with your dad, medical needs in Malaysia, there's always KKM. Right? There's always KKM that on the worst case scenario, you will get treated at least. And it's going to be very cheap for you. It's going to be free or extremely cheap, right? So that's why, to me, my thinking is push comes to shove. If, let's say, there's a very expensive medical bill, if you were to go private, and you're thinking, hey, I can afford this with my emergency fund, I can take it away from my savings, but I could also just go the route of KKM.
Yes.
Right? I think at the end of the day, people need to be responsible for their own finances. And it's not that KKM is bad, right? I think KKM is a pretty good option that we can utilize.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But again, I guess it's also the notion like, oh, why settle for KKM when you can like try the best? But unfortunately, I feel like sometimes, like when you go look back at your finances, like, can you really afford
Exactly. Yeah, I get what you mean. So I think recently I just went through this myself as well. I think, because my mom just retired, I think 1 or 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so I didn't wait for anything to happen to her. Everything was in anticipation.
Okay.
So I was honest with her upfront about, this is your situation right now. This is what you can afford. Of course, in the worst case scenario, I would help you out. But I need you to also help yourself out, right? So for example, a few years before she quit, I made her get like medical insurance. So she is on medical insurance right now, which would cover any medical bills, right? But even aside from that, because I assume you're not just thinking about medical insurance, right? You're thinking about their day-to-day expenses, if they need care later on in life, where they're going to live and all those stuff, right?
Yes,
I went through the same thing as well. And I was honest with my mom, right? This is how much money you have in EPF. Good thing is your son knows a bit about finances, so let me just help you calculate, how much can you spend a year. And you should not exceed this. So I was very brutal. I was brutally honest, right? Everybody wants to have a nice life. My mom said, oh, I want to enjoy luxuries in life as well. Everyone wants to enjoy luxuries, but the reality is this is your scenario. And this is what we need to work with. In the case where I'm a millionaire, where I make a lot of money, of course, I will give you this money to enjoy life even better and stuff.
Absolutely.
But you should not live your life as if I'm going to continue supporting you forever, right? I think those kind of things, being preemptive, is a lot better than, oh no, I'm out of my EPF money now. Because I assume your dad, your mom has EPF as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fortunately, that's, I guess, like the initially they were already like, okay, we have EPF, maybe we can make it. But I guess it's the responsibility of like the oldest child, right? It's like, alama, I need to take care of my parents.
Yeah, like I don't want to see them in, if I can afford private healthcare, why not pay for it?
Like you said, like they retire, they should be enjoying life and being at their best. But and it's like, I want to give them the best.
Yeah.
Can I? I guess
exactly.
That's the question.
So I guess that's a very good question then. Can you afford it? So do you budget? Do you budget for yourself?
Yes.
Okay, so you have your own budget, like this is your income, this goes to expenses, this goes to savings, this goes to wants or enjoying things,
I guess
right?
it's just the idea of like, oh, I have to like split it a little bit more to kind of allocate to my parents for the just in case cases, I guess.
Yeah, I would say then if you're someone who's financially comfortable already on your own, like let's say this includes savings, by the way. To me, this includes saving for your future as well, not just your immediate needs, right? So if you have your immediate needs sorted, you have your savings, your investments all sorted for yourself as well for your future.
Yep.
And then you have extra cash. If you want to allocate that towards your parents, then I think by all means, right, do it. This is like, there is a portion of money that people can spend however they want. Some people would rather blow it having nice dinners and stuff, but some people more responsible like yourself. I know a lot of people are like this. they would rather put it to your parents. And I think that's fine. I think if you think this will bring you happiness, if you think that this is the least that your parents deserve, then this money can go towards that. Right?
Yeah, I'm definitely trying.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not necessarily, I don't think that I'm in a sense of like comfort levels. I guess like I'm okay. I guess I assume the worst in
Yeah,
a sense. So
I
I
know.
want to give the best. And unfortunately, I do feel like maybe I have to take a little bit from myself, which
Yep.
I understand from what you say, like I need to put myself first.
Exactly.
Because if I have nothing, what am I supposed to give,
Yeah,
right?
it's gonna be hard for you to help them if you're in a tricky situation, right? Yeah, it's gonna be a lot easier if you're stable, and then everything from there is easy. So, okay, the trick that I used at least for my mom was that she just retired.
Okay.
I didn't want her to splash or splurge everything. I think that's very dangerous. Once they get access to the EPF money, they're like, oh, I have 1 million in there. That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but it's not going to last you 20, 25 years, right? With prices going up. So I would say one thing you can do with your parents is you tell them you want to do the best for them. You want to give them the best. But starting out when your dad just retires, just take it easy, right? Don't go too overboard. Try going with KKM. Just budget around what he has with EPF. At least you start early. And then if you realize that, he has extra money in EPF that he can spend, or if you start doing better, then he can increase his lifestyle. So the reason I say this is, I think increasing your lifestyle is a lot easier than decreasing your lifestyle. It's a lot easier than, when you just retired, you're like, oh, I'm going to a 5-star hotel in Bali, I'm flying to Europe every year.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, you're like, oh no, I don't have any more money. It's going to be very difficult to adjust your lifestyle downwards, right? Which is why I think at the start, just take it easy, use KKM, don't go too ham, don't decide to buy a new house. I've heard a lot of people get their EPF money and they're like, oh, 1.5 million, let me just buy a house. And I think that's one of the worst decisions that they can make. Try to just hold on to that cash. Yeah.
I guess, I mean, in a sense that, from what my mom says, right? It's like, oh, it's okay because like we have your dad's EPF and we have my EPF.
Yep.
So they're thinking in like the combined EPF is like, it's enough for them to kind of like live comfortably.
Okay.
But I guess in a sense, as a person from the outside, seeing my dad go like every year, like sometimes he goes into the hospital for like 3 to 4 times a year. It's really jarring for me as someone on the outside to see this, right? They say they're fine, but are they really? So
Yeah.
I'm thinking on a sense of like, if, for example, like the insurance, obviously, like they have insurance, like my dad has insurance and everything.
Okay.
But worst comes to shove, like if, for example, like my mom suddenly gets sick as well, and now it's like not just my dad, but also like my mom, right? That's where I'm kind of concerned, like, would that like sum of EPF would be okay for the both of them?
Yep.
Or again, like, do I have to really like be like you said, like you're really brutally honest with your mom, right? I'm relatively not that honest with thinking, but should I be just as brutally honest? Like, okay, you seem okay that you have both each other's finances, like EPF sorted, but are you guys really sure? Because I've heard like my mom is like obviously her first thing is like, oh, I want to go to Umrah again and everything, which is alhamdulillah, like yes, obviously like we want that, but should you do immediately or like let's just wait a while?
Yeah, I think exactly like I said, right? Just wait a while, delay that gratification a bit. Okay, I think one thing with EPF, I'm not sure if this is how your parents calculated it, but okay, let's say EPF dividends is 5%, right? Let's say it's 5% a year.
Yeah.
So if they want to spend 100K a year, if they need that post-retirement, right? So we can just 100K divided by 5%, which we will get 2 million, right? So it means that if combined, they have 2 million ringgit in EPF, I would say honestly, they're sorted. Because just from dividends, they can settle their monthly expenses. They don't even have to touch that 2 million ringgit. It will just continue. Yeah. That's basically what people use for a gauge of whether they're ready to retire or not.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's say you just bring this up with them and see if that's the number that they're using. And if they want to do certain things, like let's say they want to go to Umrah, they want to buy a house, stuff like that, you tell them, hey, if you do that, your 2 million will now be 1.5 million. Your dividends on that will not be 100K anymore. It will be 75K. Are you okay with that? Right?
I see.
Are you okay with that? Yeah, I think these are the things that people need to consider when they get close to retirement age. And like I said, I think if they have a lot of cash, if they think they're comfortable with hospital bills and stuff, like I said, I think they can go for it if they think they have enough money, but they need to know the downsides as well. Like I said, if you spend that money is now not earning you dividends anymore. It means that in the future, you might not, have as much cash flow that's coming from investments. But like I said, I think at the end of the day, having KKM, having free healthcare in Malaysia is amazing. How do your parents feel about that? Are they like, worst case, we can just go to KKM? Are they okay with it?
My mom is perfectly okay
She's
with
fine.
KKM. Yeah, like obviously, like my dad, because I guess he's comfortable, like having like the free insurance from his company.
Yeah.
Obviously, his because of his like split disc and diabetes, he has been going to more private hospitals for the specialists there. So I guess it's a little bit of a change to kind of bring him back to like KKM. He might have some form of like resistance at first, I guess, but at that point, I feel like I have to speak to my mom to kind of like show him like it's not that bad.
Yeah.
I guess it's a misconception as well.
It is. Yeah.
So I've been to like I visited like my cousin at the Putrajaya hospital, or was it like Serdang, I believe.
Yep.
They're like from like the facilities and the looks of it. I don't know services wise, but facility wise, we're really top notch already. But it's just I guess the misconception of like, oh, we need to
free
always
versus paid,
Yeah, paid is always better than free.
Private surely is better. I think a lot of people think that you gotta be brutally, you gotta be not brutally honest, but you just gotta have this conversation with your parents, as they retire. Things will have to slow down a bit, right? Certain things will just have to be reduced in terms of lifestyle, just to make sure that the trade-off to that, of going from a private hospital to KKM is that for the next 20, 30 years, they'll be sorted. They'll be, their monthly expenses are all covered. There is a cost to everything. Of course, then they might think, there is another solution, which is you pay for me, right? Which I guess is basically the crux of everything you're talking about today, right?
Yeah. The people pleaser in me will just come out and be like, okay. But I understand it is a process.
Yeah.
I believe, like obviously, like just correct me if I'm wrong. Like even with your mom, she needed time. I assume to kind of like get everything and get a little bit of that momentum of not working anymore and just being at home. Sometimes I feel like my dad is also the thing of like he feels a bit restless going into this. He feels like, oh, he still wants to do more. He told me that, oh, maybe he can start a business, and I'm like, just calm down.
That would be a good idea. I would feel the same way. I honestly can't imagine retiring at all.
To be fair, same.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I want to retire early and stuff. I was thinking, if I retire, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I understand. Well, I guess in a sense, slow talk, and then KKM is always there.
I think to sort of just wrap this up, I think 3 key takeaways from this for anyone who is in a similar situation to Anis right here. If you have parents who are going through retirement and you're thinking about the finances, what you can do, I think first things first with them, you need to have a conversation with them just to be honest about your own situation and why you need to think about your future as well. I think that's number 1, right? And then number 2, you need to let them know that they need to be realistic with what they have.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, we're all living in bungalows. We all have private chefs who cook food for us.
Wow.
But we need to be realistic and live within our means. Especially when you're retired, you want to make it go as far as possible.
Yes.
Right?
That's correct.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then number 3, like Anis here, she's a very good daughter. I hope my daughter one day thinks like you. But if you guys want to save for your parents, you can do that, right? You can save for your parents. You can set aside a separate sinking fund, but make sure that all of your needs are sorted out first. Make sure your necessities, your savings, your investments, everything is good to go. Then you can put any extra money that you have towards your parents. Right? I think that wraps it up pretty well.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
Yep.
I'm definitely going to bring all these tips back to my parents.
Glad it helped you.
Yeah.
That is the end of today's episode of The Money Goal. I'm with Anis. Thank you very much, guys. See you guys in the next one.
Thank you. Bye.